The air tasted of dust and decaying paper, a scent I once found comforting. Now it felt like I was breathing in a tomb. From the cavernous darkness of the fourth-floor stacks, a sound echoed, a soft, singular thump. It wasn't the sound of a book falling. It was heavier, wetter, and it was the third time I'd heard it in 10 minutes. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, just the old building settling. But I knew, with a certainty that chilled the sweat on my neck, that I was not alone in this silence. Welcome back, Fear fans, to Scary Toast, where we serve up tales from the shadows. Tonight, we're checking out a story that proves some knowledge should remain buried. Pull up a chair and listen close. Just make sure the doors are locked. Mark was a grad student, which was another way of saying he was a professional ghost. He haunted the university's Atherton library, fueled by cheap coffee and the terror of impending finals. The library was his sanctuary, a vast, Gothic cathedral of knowledge that stayed open until 2 a.m. for desperate souls like him. He loved the profound, almost holy silence of the place late at night. Tonight, however, the silence felt different. It felt watchful. He was tucked away in his usual carrel, surrounded by towering shelves of American history. The only other person on the floor was a girl with headphones 2 aisles over, completely absorbed. So who or what was making that sound? Thump. There it was again. From the far end of the aisle, it sounded like someone dropping a thick leather-bound volume onto a carpeted floor. But when Mark cautiously peered around the shelf, the long corridor was empty. The fluorescent lights hummed, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to twist at the edge of his vision. He shook his head, blaming exhaustion. He'd been awake for nearly 36 hours. Of course, he was hearing things. He turned back to his textbook on the Civil War, the words blurring into meaningless shapes. An unfamiliar scent drifted to him, cutting through the familiar aroma of old books. It was faint, a cloying mix of damp soil and cheap floral perfume, like funeral flowers left out too long in the rain. He wrinkled his nose. Maybe the janitors were using a new cleaner. Thump. This time it was closer, just 1 aisle over. It was immediately followed by a soft, dragging sound. A shiver traced its way down his spine. He stood up slowly, every muscle tense. "Hello?" he called out, his voice a pathetic croak in the immense quiet. The only reply was the incessant hum of the lights. The girl with the headphones was gone. Her laptop was still open, its screen glowing, but she was nowhere to be seen. A cold knot of dread tightened in Mark's stomach. He started packing his bag, his movements clumsy and loud. He just wanted to leave. Zipping up his backpack, he glanced down the aisle where the sound had come from. A book was lying flat on the floor. He didn't remember seeing it there before. Curiosity warred with his rising panic. He took a few hesitant steps closer. The book was old, its black leather cover worn smooth and featureless, with no title on the spine or the front. He felt an irrational urge not to touch it. As he stood frozen, he heard another sound, the one that finally broke him. A whisper. It wasn't human. It was dry and sibilant, like 1,000 brittle pages turning at once, and it came from directly behind him. He didn't scream. The sound was trapped in his throat, a strangled gasp. He spun around, backpack swinging wildly, and saw it. At the far end of the aisle where he'd just been sitting, a figure was standing. It was tall and impossibly thin, draped in what looked like a dark, old-fashioned librarian's dress. He couldn't make out a face, just a pale, blurry oval under a severe bun of gray hair. It was holding a book in its long, spindly fingers. As Mark watched, paralyzed with terror, it lifted the book to the side of its head, pressing it to where an ear should be, as if listening to a secret. It held the pose for a long, agonizing moment, Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, it let the book drop. Thump! The figure's head swiveled towards him. The blurry space where its face should have been seemed to stretch, to widen into a soundless shriek. The whisper of turning pages filled the air, louder now, a vortex of noise that clawed at his ears. Mark ran. He didn't look back. He bolted through the maze of shelves, the whispering static chasing him, the rhythmic thumping echoing in his mind. He burst through the emergency exit, the alarm blaring behind him like a cry for help. He didn't stop running until the cold night air burned his lungs, and the library was just a dark silhouette against the moonlit sky. Mark never finished his graduate degree. He couldn't step inside a library or even a bookstore without breaking into a cold sweat. The terror of that night became a part of him. Sometimes, late at night, when his apartment is quiet, he thinks he can hear it. A faint, soft thump coming from the other room. He knows what it is. It's listening. And it's waiting. The silence of a library is a fragile thing. It's a promise that you're safe among the stories. But sometimes, you become one of them. If you dare to listen this far, hit that like button. Share this with a friend who loves a good scare. And subscribe to Scary Toast for more chilling narratives. Let us know in the comments about the creepiest place you've ever been alone.